Hello there, my sleepy travelers. Tonight, we drift up out of the rain and the dark into the high mountains, to a lonely tower where a single warm lamp burns in the topmost window, and an old wizard keeps his fire and his books, and the old tales of magic run long. If you enjoy these tales, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments where you're listening from tonight. It really helps others find our cozy little corner. Before we begin, take a slow breath in and let it go. Let your shoulders drop and let your eyes close whenever they're ready. But for now, let's get cozy, settle in, and climb the last of the mountain road, up out of the storm and into the wizard's tower. The rain had been falling since the light began to fail, and by the time the path turned steep, the whole world had narrowed to the few grey yards in front of you. You had been climbing a long while. The mountain road is a hard and lonely one at the best of times, a thin ribbon of stone winding up between the crags, with the valley falling away soft and blue below, and the peaks standing cold and silent above. And on a night like this one, with the cloud come down and the rain turning slowly towards sleet, it becomes a place with no up and no down at all, only the wet stone underfoot, and the wind pulling at your cloak, and the endless whispering of the water on the rocks. You had stopped feeling the cold as cold some while back. It had become simply the weather of the world, the only weather there had ever been, and you walked on through it because there was nothing else to do but walk, and because you knew, or hoped, that somewhere ahead of you and above you there was a place where a fire was burning behind stone walls. And then, through a gap in the cloud, you saw the light. High up, higher than seemed reasonable, a single small window glowing warm and gold against the black shoulder of the mountain. It hung there in the dark like a low star that had come down to rest, and below it, as the cloud shifted and thinned, you began to make out the shape that held it. A tower, a tall and narrow tower of old grey stone, rising straight up off a crag at the head of the valley, its top lost in the mist, its one lit window burning steadily through all that wind and rain, as though the storm were no concern of its at all. You did not know whose it was, or who kept that light, but it was warm, and it was above you, and something in the sight of it reached down the mountain and took you gently by the heart. You bent your head into the rain, and you climbed the last of the road toward it. The path gave out at last onto a small stone shelf before the foot of the tower, and there, set deep in the old wall, was a door. It was a great door of dark and weathered oak, banded with iron gone soft and brown with age, and above it, carved into the lintel and worn almost smooth by the winters, was the faint shape of a star inside a circle, and a moon, and marks in some old writing you could not read. There was no bell and no knocker, and for a moment you stood before it uncertain, the rain running cold down the back of your neck, wondering whether you had climbed all this way only to be turned away into the dark. You lifted your hand, and before your knuckles ever touched the wood, quite gently, and quite on its own, the great door drew back its bolt with a soft, heavy sound, and swung inward, and let out into the night a long, slow breath of warmth and golden light. A voice came from somewhere within, unhurried and kind, the voice of a man who has been expecting you for longer than you have been alive. "Come in out of that," it said, "before the mountain keeps you. Come in and shut the weather out behind you." You stepped over the threshold, and the warmth met you like a living thing. It wrapped around your cold, wet face and your aching hands, and it drew you in, and behind you the great door swung shut of its own accord, and the storm fell away all at once to a soft and distant murmur beyond the stone. You stood in the round base of the tower, and you looked about you, and you forgot, for a moment, to breathe. The room rose up and up, far higher than one room has any right to, and a wooden stair went winding round the inside of the wall, up past gallery after gallery, until it was lost in a warm gloom far overhead. And every wall, all the way up, was books, shelves and shelves and shelves of them, thousands upon thousands, their spines of leather and cloth in every faded color, ladders leaning here and there against them, so that the whole tower was a single great column of quiet knowledge reaching up into the dark. And below, where you stood, was a study made for the keeping of long winter nights. A great hearth of blackened stone, with a fire burning low and steady in it. Tall, narrow windows down which the rain ran in silver threads. A long table heaped with charts and instruments of brass, and candles standing in their own soft pools of light. And here and there, hanging in the air with no thread to hold them, a few small globes of gentle radiance, drifting as slowly as thistledown. The wizard came toward you from beside the fire. He was very old. He was tall, but stooped a little now with the years, and he wore a long robe, the deep blue of the sky just after sunset, worn soft and pale at the elbows and hem, and his beard was white and long and neatly kept, and his eyes, beneath brows like drifts of snow, were the clear and patient grey of a man who has spent a very long life looking at difficult things kindly. "There now," he said, looking you over, taking in the sleet melting in your hair and the stiffness in the way you held yourself. "The mountain has had its fun with you, I see. It always does, with travelers who come by night. Well, it cannot follow you in here. He did not ask your name, or your business, or where you were bound. He only put a light, dry hand on your shoulder and steered you, gently and without argument, toward the great worn chair drawn up close beside the fire, the warmest place in all that warm round room, and pressed you down into it. "Sit," he said. "You are safe now. There is nothing above you on this mountain but my old tower, and nothing in my old tower tonight but a fire, and a great many books, and one tired traveler, and one old man very glad of the company. Sit, and I will find you something to take the cold out of your bones." You sank into the chair, and it received you like an old friend, and while the wizard busied himself at the hearth, you let your eyes wander the wonders of the room. Upon the warm stones of the hearth itself, stretched out full length in the glow, there slept an old grey cat, vast and round and utterly content, who opened one gold eye at you, decided you were no trouble, and closed it again. On the high back of your very chair, you now saw a great tawny owl sat dozing, its feathers fluffed against the warmth, its round eyes shut to soft dark seams, and everywhere, over everything, lay the deep and ordered peace of a place where nothing has been hurried for 100 years. The wizard returned and pressed into your two hands a heavy cup, warm to hold, that steamed and gave off a smell of spiced wine, of dark fruit and honey, and something warm and resinous that you could not name. "Drink," he said, lowering himself with a small sigh into the chair opposite. "Slowly. It is an old recipe of mine. It will not make you sleep, but it will make you willing to." You drank. The warmth of it slid down through the cold center of you and began, very gently, to unknot it. And you let out a long, slow breath and felt your shoulders come down at last from around your ears and settled back into the old chair, and for a little while neither of you said anything at all. There was only the fire ticking and settling in the hearth, the rain whispering its long, soft secrets against the tall, dark windows, the slow, deep breathing of the sleeping cat, and around it all, holding it all, the great quiet tower full of books, rising up and up into the warm dark overhead, keeping the whole cold mountain and the whole cold night out beyond its walls. The old wizard watched you settle with a small and knowing smile, the smile of a man who has warmed a great many travelers over a great many years and knows exactly how long it takes. And when he judged that you were comfortable, and no sooner, he laced his old fingers together over the front of his faded robe, and he looked into the fire, and he spoke. "You have the look of someone," he said, "who would not object to a story. It is a long night, and the storm will not tire itself out before morning, and a warm chair by a fire is the very best place in the world to hear the old tales told. I have a great many of them. It is more or less all an old wizard is good for, in the end, when his adventuring days are behind him, the keeping and the telling of old tales." He glanced at you, his grey eyes bright and kind in the firelight. "You need not answer, and you need not stay awake for the end. Many have fallen asleep in that very chair, to that very fire, and I have never once minded. It is the highest compliment a story can be paid, I have always thought, that a body feels safe enough beside it to close its eyes." He settled deeper into his own chair. "Let me begin then, where all things worth telling begin. At the beginning, let me tell you where magic comes from, for everyone asks it, sooner or later, and almost no one is ever told. Long ago, said the old wizard, longer ago than there were words to keep the count, before there were towers, or kings, or roads, or any of the small busy doings of folk, there was the world, new made and turning, and the world was singing. That is the truest way I know to say it. Before it was stone and sea and sky, the world was a song, a deep, slow, endless song, sung all through everything, in the roots of the mountains and the deeps of the water and the wide dark spaces between the stars. And everything that is only that song, slowed down and grown solid. The rock is a low, long note held for an age. The river is a running melody. You yourself, sitting there in my old chair, are a small bright phrase of it, sung once, and once only, in all the history of the world. The wizard turned his cup slowly in his hands. Now magic, my traveler, is nothing more strange or more frightening than this. Magic is only the art of hearing that song, a little, and of learning to hum along. That is the whole of it. All my life's long study, all these thousands of books, all the towers and the orders and the great grave mages of history, and it comes down in the end to that one small childlike thing, to listen very hard and very patiently to the song the world is always singing, and to learn, ever so carefully, to add a note of your own without spoiling the tune. Most folk never hear it at all, and there is no shame in that, he went on. For the world is loud, and life is busy, and the song is very quiet, quieter than your own heartbeat, quieter than your own breath. But now and then a child is born who hears it, out in a field perhaps, or by the sea. They go still all of a sudden, and they tilt their head, and they listen to something no one else can hear, and most of the time the world talks them out of it, and they grow up and forget, and the world is a little poorer for it and never knows. But a few hold on. A few keep listening all their lives, and they seek out others who have heard it too, and together, slowly, over years, they learn the old art of humming along, of coaxing a flame to stand up brighter, of asking the rain to hold off a while, and being answered, of mending, and warming, and lighting, and calling. And those we call the wise, or the wonder workers, or, when the word is used kindly, the wizards. He smiled into the flames. It is not a power over the world, whatever the frightened will tell you. It is a friendship with it. That is the first thing, and the last thing, and very nearly the whole thing. And every other tale I could tell you tonight is only a footnote to it. The world is singing, my traveler. It has never once stopped. And on a quiet night, warm and still and half asleep, you are far more likely to hear a little of it than you would ever think. The fire settled with a soft collapse of embers, and the old wizard leaned forward and laid another log upon it. And for a moment the flames sank, and then found the new wood and climbed again, brighter, throwing his long shadow up the wall of books behind him. The great cat on the hearth stretched, all four legs trembling, turned itself over with a small grumbling sound, and settled again into a deeper sleep. Beyond the tall windows the rain went on, patient and unhurried, and somewhere far below in the valley, the wind moved through unseen trees. You drew your feet up under you in the great chair and cradled the warm cup against your chest, and the wizard waited, in no hurry at all, until you were still and comfortable once more. And then he went on. You will be wondering, perhaps, about this tower, he said, and how it comes to be here, alone on a cold mountain at the top of the world. There is a tale in that, and it is a gentle one. Long ago, when the first of the wise had learned to hear the world's song, they found that it was easier to hear in some places than in others. High places mostly, quiet places, far from the noise of towns and the churn of men's doings. Places where the veil between the world you see and the song beneath it worn thin. And on such places, one by one, down the long years, they raised their towers. There were a great many of them once, scattered across the wide world, each one home to a keeper or two, and a fire and a library, each one a small lantern of patient learning in the wild dark. They were not fortresses. They were never meant to keep anyone out. They were built tall, for the same reason a flower grows tall, to be nearer the light, to lift the listener up out of the low, loud murmur of the everyday, and closer to the high, clear song of the stars. And they were built to last, for the work of them is slow, and a wizard measures a task not in years, but in lifetimes. This one is very old, the wizard said, and he looked up, following the winding stair with his eyes, up past the galleries and the shelves into the warm gloom above. Older than I am, though that is saying a good deal less than it once did. I did not build it, I only keep it, as it was kept before me, and as it will be kept after, by whoever climbs this road one day, cold and tired and full of questions, and never quite manages to leave. That is how it goes, more often than not. The tower does not choose grand heroes for its keepers. It chooses tired travelers who came in out of a storm and stayed for a story, and woke the next morning to find they rather liked the quiet and the books and the fire, and never found a good enough reason to go back down the mountain. He chuckled softly to himself. The order that raised these towers is mostly gone now, scattered and forgotten, and folk down in the valleys think a wizard is a thing out of a children's tale, if they think of us at all. But the towers stand, and in a few of them, here and there across the world, on nights just like this one, an old lamp still burns in a high window, and an old fire still crackles in a deep hearth, and the long, slow work of listening goes quietly on. I find that a comforting thing to know, myself, on the darkest nights, that I am not the only lamp, that out there, over the far mountains, other old fools sit up late with their books and their fires, keeping the old friendship with the world alive, each of us alone, and none of us truly alone at all. When the wizard fell quiet, you became aware once more of the room, of the fire, of the rain running down the tall dark glass. And you found your gaze drifting upward, following the stair, up toward the top of the tower, and that one warm window you had seen from the road far below. The old man followed your look, and something pleased and secret came into his face, "Ah," he said, "you are wondering what is up there, at the very top, under the lit window. I will tell you, for it is my favorite of all the rooms, and there is a tale in it. At the crown of this tower, above all the books, there is a chamber with a roof that opens, a great dome of old glass and older brass, and by the turning of a wheel and a word the whole of it draws back, like the petals of a flower opening, until there is nothing at all between you and the sky. And in that chamber stand the instruments of the oldest and gentlest of all our arts, the reading of the stars. For the stars, my traveller, are the far end of the world's song," the wizard said softly, "the highest and clearest and most patient part of it, and the folk of the towers have watched them and loved them since the very beginning. On a clear night up there, with the dome drawn back, and the cold clean air coming down, and the whole glittering wheel of heaven turning slowly overhead, you can see further than any road could ever take you. You can see the wandering lights the old books call the 7 travelers, that move against the fixed stars in their own slow and stately dance. You can see the great river of pale light that pours across the middle of the sky, which some say is a road, and some say is a river, and some say is the dust of 1,000,000 suns too far away to tell apart. And you can see the pictures the old folk drew among the stars, the hunter and the swan, and the sleeping dragon and the great bear, joining light to distant light with lines of story, so that even the emptiest reaches of the night sky became, in kindly human hands, a book of tales to be read across the seasons. I go up there still, on the clear nights, old as I am and long as the climb has become. I open the dome, and I sit in the cold under all that turning light, and I do not, if I am honest, learn very much anymore. I have learned most of what these old eyes are going to learn. But I go up all the same, and I look, because there is a peace in it that I have never found anywhere else in a long life of looking. To sit very small and very still beneath something so vast and so old and so serenely indifferent to all your troubles, and to feel, instead of frightened by it, strangely and deeply comforted, as though the great, cold, beautiful sky were quietly reassuring you that your worries, whatever they are smaller and softer and further away than you had thought. That is what the stars have always told me, in their silent way. Rest, you are held, the wheel turns, and all is well, and all shall be well. Outside, the wind rose for a moment and threw a gust of rain hard against the windows, and the flames leaned and guttered, and then the gust passed on down the mountain, and the fire stood up straight and steady again. The tawny owl on the back of your chair roused, turned its round head most of the way about in the unsettling manner of owls, regarded the dark window with grave attention, decided the weather was none of its concern, and settled its feathers and slept again. The old wizard smiled at it fondly. "He keeps me company on the long nights," he said, "as his mothers and grandmothers did before him. There has always been an owl in this tower, since long before my time. But that is a tale for a little later. First, since you are looking up at all my books, let me tell you about them, for the library is the great wonder of this place, greater by far than the stars, though I would deny it to the sky's face if it could hear me." He gestured up at the rising walls of shelves, the thousands upon thousands of quiet spines climbing away into the dark. "They do not look like much, I know, in the low light," the wizard said. "A great many old books, gathering a great deal of old dust. But consider what a book truly is, my traveller, and you will never think it a small thing again. A book is a piece of a mind, set down and kept. Someone, long ago, sat somewhere by a fire much like this one, and thought long and hard about something, and cared enough about it to write it down, patiently, word by word, so that the thought would not die with them. And here it sits, on my shelf, 100 years later, or 1,000, and I have only to take it down and open it, and the thought comes alive again in my head, exactly as fresh as the day it was thought. There is no magic in all my arts to rival it, to speak across 1,000 years, mind to mind, with someone long dead, and to be understood. We have always known it in the towers, that the greatest wonder is not the spell, it is the sentence. This library holds the patient thoughts of 10,000 such minds, star charts and herb lore, and the histories of forgotten kingdoms, books of the deep art and books of simple kindness, books that took a whole life to write and can be read in an afternoon, and books that can be read in a moment and take a whole life to understand. Some of them, I will tell you, are a little strange. There are books on the higher shelves that whisper faintly to themselves in the dark, if you stand very still and listen, going over and over their own contents in the night, the way an old scholar mutters in his sleep. There are books that are warm to the touch, and one, somewhere up there, that is always exactly as cold as the day it was written, which was a very cold day indeed. But most of them are only books, and that is wonder enough, the old man said, and there was a great and settled love in his voice. On the long winter nights, when the storms close the mountain and no traveler is likely to come, I take a candle and I climb the stair, and I choose a book more or less at random from the thousands, and I sit and I read the patient thoughts of someone who has been dust for centuries, and I am not lonely. How could I be? The tower is full of company. Every shelf is a crowd of the wise and the kind and the curious, all of them waiting, endlessly patient, to begin again the moment I open the cover. That is the true work of a place like this, in the end. Not the great spells, not the reading of the stars, the keeping safe of all those patient thoughts, all that hard-won knowing through the wars and the winters and the long forgetting, so that it is still here, still warm, still ready whenever someone climbs the mountain who needs it. I like to think of that when I cannot sleep, of all the dark libraries in all the lonely towers, each one holding its long candle of remembering against the night. Nothing truly good is ever quite lost, my traveler, so long as somewhere someone bothers to keep it, and someone always does. There is always one more tired old keeper by one more fire, turning the pages, keeping the light. The old wizard rose then, slower than he must once have risen, and went to the long table, and returned with a small stoppered flask of thick green glass, which he turned before the firelight so that it caught the flame and glowed. He did not open it. He only sat again and held it and looked at it thoughtfully, as though deciding where to begin. You will have heard, I expect, the tales that folk in the valleys tell about wizards, he said. That we spend our nights bent over bubbling pots, trying to turn lead into gold. They laugh about it, mostly, the foolish old men on their mountains, chasing gold that will never come. And I will tell you a secret. They are not entirely wrong. We did try to turn lead into gold, for a very long time, and very hard. It is the oldest riddle of the art we call alchemy, and generations of good and clever folk gave their whole lives to it. He smiled, a little ruefully, at the green flask in his hand. And I will tell you a second secret, which is the one the tales always miss. We were never really after the gold. Alchemy is the art of transformation, the wizard said. The study of how one thing becomes another. How the seed becomes the tree. How the grape becomes the wine warming your hands this very moment. How the dull grey ore, buried in the dark, becomes bright metal in the fire. And yes, in the beginning, the alchemists chased the grandest transformation they could imagine, the turning of a base and common metal into a noble and shining one, and they filled 1,000 books with their failures, and folk laughed at them, and they went on. But somewhere along that long road, the wisest of them began to understand that the true riddle was never really about the lead at all. The lead was only a mirror. When they wrote of turning a base metal into gold, of purifying it, of freeing the bright thing that was hidden all along inside the dull one, they had begun, quietly, without quite meaning to write about themselves, about the slow, patient, difficult work of a soul turning, over a long life, from something heavy and dull and afraid into something lighter and kinder and more at peace. That was the real gold. That was the great work, and unlike the other, it could actually be done. They spoke of a thing they called the Philosopher's Stone, he went on softly, which was said to complete the great work, to turn any base metal to gold at a touch, and to grant, besides, a long and healthful life. Whole libraries were written seeking it, and I have come to believe, in my old age, that a few of them did find it, though never the thing they set out to find. For what is the Philosopher's Stone, truly, but a settled and untroubled heart, a way of being in the world so patient, so kind, so free of grasping and of fear, that everything it touches is a little bettered by the touch, and turned in some small way to gold. And does that not also, as the old books promised, lend a body a long and healthful life? I have known one or two who had it. Not wizards, most of them. An old woman who kept bees in the valley below, once, whose company left you feeling made new. A shepherd on the far slope who was never once, in 40 years, heard to speak unkindly of a living soul. They had the stone. They had done the great work without ever reading a word of it, and turned the lead of an ordinary life into something quietly golden. So do not laugh too hard at the old alchemists and their bubbling pots. They were not fools. They were only using the language of metal and fire to speak about the slow gold-making of a life. And that, I think, is a thing worth trying to make, however you go about it, and whatever you choose to call the stone. The fire had burned down again to a deep and glowing red, and the old wizard did not rise to build it up this time, but let it settle, so that the light in the round room grew dimmer and softer and warmer, and the shadows came up close and kind, and the tall windows went black and shining with the rain. You had slid lower in the great chair, your cheek against its worn and yielding wing, the empty cup resting warm in your lap, and your eyes had fallen closed somewhere in the tail of the stone, and you had not troubled to open them again. The wizard glanced at you to see that you were comfortable, and lowered his voice a little, the way you would for a child who is nearly gone, so that his words came now more slowly and more softly and further apart. "You are drifting," he said, not unkindly. "That is well. Let me tell you now of gentler things. Let me tell you of the owl and of the sleeping dragons." "There has always been an owl in this tower," the old wizard said, "and a cat on the hearth, and there always will be. We call them familiars, we of the towers, though it is a graver word than the plain and homely truth of them. They are only companions, creatures who, for reasons of their own that they have never seen fit to explain, choose to share the long quiet of a wizard's life. Some say a familiar carries a little of its keeper's magic, or lends a little of its own, and perhaps that is so. But I will tell you what mine truly does. This drowsy fellow behind your head, he keeps me from being alone. On the nights the loneliness of the high tower comes creeping, I have only to hear him ruffle his feathers, or feel the old cat climb heavily into my lap and begin his rumbling, to be reminded that the warmth of one living thing near another is its own kind of magic, and older than any in my books. The world is full of such creatures, if you have the eyes for it. Not the great beasts of the frightening tales, but the gentle secret ones. The small folk of the hedgerows and the deep woods, who mend a torn wing or a lost lamb when no one is looking. The old spirits of the springs and the standing stones, who ask nothing but to be greeted kindly as you pass. There is far more good and gentle magic loose in the ordinary world, my traveler, than there is the other kind. It simply does not make for exciting tales, and so the tales leave it out, and folk grow up thinking the world is emptier than it is. And as for dragons, said the wizard, and here his voice grew warmer still, and a little amused, you must set aside almost everything the loud tales have told you. Yes, they were real. Yes, they were vast and old and terrible to behold. But the tales that paint them all as ravening monsters, hoarding gold and burning villages, were written mostly by folk who had never met one, and were repeating the fears of folk who never had either. The truth of dragons is a stranger and a quieter thing. They are the oldest creatures in the world, older than the towers, older than men, and the very old, of any kind, grow tired. The great dragons of the world are not raging across the sky, my traveler. They are sleeping, nearly all of them, nearly all the time. They have seen the rise and fall of everything a dozen times over, and it has left them not cruel, but weary, and profoundly, magnificently drowsy. They have curled themselves away in the deep places of the earth, in warm caverns, under the mountains, and in the hearts of old volcanoes, and there they sleep the slow centuries away, dreaming their long, slow dragon dreams, breathing once an hour, their great scaled sides rising and falling like the slow swell of a summer sea. There is likely one sleeping under this very mountain, if the old books are to be believed. Far below us, deep in the warm rock, curled up nose to tail, dreaming. I find it a companionable thought on a cold night, that beneath my fire and my books there sleeps a creature so old and so vast and so utterly at peace, breathing slow in the dark, keeping the deep warm in the mountain company, wanting nothing, harming no one, simply resting, as all old and weary things have earned the right to rest. We are none of us so different from the dragons, in the end. We spend our fierce years grasping and burning and hoarding, and if we are lucky, if we are wise, we grow at last old and drowsy and kind, and we curl up somewhere warm, and we let the long dreams take us and we rest. You were very warm now, and very heavy, sunk deep into the old chair with the fire a soft red glow beyond your closed eyes, and you did not stir, and you did not answer, and the old wizard did not expect you to. Somewhere near, the cat had begun, very faintly to purr, a small warm engine of contentment turning over in the dark. The rain had gentled against the windows, no longer flung but falling straight and soft and steady. A long, quiet hush laid over the whole sleeping mountain. The wizard's voice went on, lower than before, a thread of warmth to follow down into the dark. There are 2 tales left in me tonight, he said, and they are the gentlest of all, and the right ones to end on. Let me tell you now of the moons, and of the country of dreams. When you go up to the top of the tower on a clear night, the old wizard said, very softly, the first thing you see, before ever you find the stars, are the moons. For there are 2 of them in the old tellings, a greater and a lesser, one bright and one dim, and they move through the sky, each in their own time, sometimes together, sometimes apart, sometimes the small one crossing the face of the great one in a slow and silent embrace. And the old folk of the towers watched them as closely as they watched the stars, and loved them more, for the moons are near and kind, and they govern the gentlest of all the arts, the magic of sleep and of dreams. For it is the moons, the old books say, that draw the tides not only of the sea but of the mind. As they rise, something in every living thing grows heavy and turns inward and begins to loosen its hold upon the day. You have felt it, surely, without ever giving it a name. That softening that comes over the world after dark. That growing willingness, as the night deepens, to let the day's cares slip their moorings and drift away. That is the moon's drawing gently on the tides of you, easing you down off the high bright shore of waking and out into the deep warm water of sleep. And sleep, my traveler, is the oldest magic there is, and the one every living soul knows how to work, though almost none can say how, the wizard said. Think of it. Each night, without any study, without any spell, you lie down, and you close your eyes, and you cross over, all on your own, into another country entirely, a country with no map, where the dead walk kindly, and the lost things return, and you can fly, and the rules of the daylight world fall softly away. The old mages studied dreams as closely as they studied anything, for they believed that in dreaming, the soul goes wandering back into the deep song of the world from which the waking day cuts it off, and returns each morning refreshed by the journey, though it remembers almost nothing of where it has been. I have come to believe they were right, that sleep is not the small, dull nothing that busy folk take it for, a mere ceasing, a wasted third of a life. It is a nightly pilgrimage, a crossing over, and a coming home, the one journey that heals you instead of wearying you, the one road that leads, every single night, somewhere you needed to go. And the wonderful thing, the truly wonderful thing, is that you do not have to understand any of it. You do not have to be wise or learned or magical. You have only to be tired and warm and safe, and to let the tide of the moons take you, as it is taking you now, softly, softly out from the firelit shore. There is no art in all my books more powerful or more kind than the one you are working all by yourself this very moment, without lifting a finger, the old, deep, healing magic of falling asleep. The fire was only embers now, a low and living red, breathing softly in the dark, and the tall windows had gone entirely to black and silver, and the whole round tower had settled towards sleep about you, the books quiet on their shelves, the cat a warm, heavy weight of purring somewhere near your feet, the owl a soft grey shape dreaming above your head. You were more asleep than awake, and you knew it, and it was the best of all feelings, to be sliding down so slow and so safe into the dark, with a kind old voice still speaking gently beside you, and no reason in all the world to surface. The wizard's last words came to you soft and far away, like something heard through deep warm water. One tale left, he murmured, the gentlest of them all. Let me tell you where we go, we keepers of the towers, when at the very last our long roads end. For folk always fear it, the ending, and they need not, and I would send you into sleep tonight with that old fear a little eased, if I can. We do not think of it as an ending, in the towers, the old wizard said, so softly now that his voice was scarcely more than the settling of the embers. We think of it as the last and longest of the crossings over. All your life you have practiced it, you see, every single night. Each evening you lay down your cares, and you closed your eyes, and you let go of the day, and you crossed over into the deep, warm dark, and each morning you were brought safely back 10,000 times and more. You made that crossing, and each time you woke. And so, when the last night comes, and it is time to make the crossing and not to wake, you are not doing some strange and terrible new thing at all. You are doing the oldest and most familiar thing you know. You are only, at the very last, falling asleep, in the way you have fallen asleep every night of your life, and not troubling this once to come back. And where do you go? Back into the song, my traveler, back into the deep, slow song of the world, out of which you were sung so long ago as one bright, brief phrase. You do not stop. The note does not vanish when the singer's breath is done. It only goes back into the great slow tune it was always a part of, and is folded gently in among all the other notes, all the ones you ever loved and lost, all sounding on together, low and warm and endless, in the deep heart of things. There is no cold there is no fear, and no more mountains to climb, and no more storms to walk through in the dark. There is only the fire, and the song, and the warmth, and the long rest that every weary traveler has earned. It is, I have always thought, very much like this, like coming in out of a long cold storm into a warm and firelit room, and being handed something hot to drink, and finding a deep old chair by the fire, and hearing a kind voice begin to tell you a story, and feeling your eyes grow heavy, and knowing, right down to the bottom of your soul, that you do not have to go back out into the cold, not tonight, not ever again, that you are home and safe, and that you may finally, gently, rest. The old wizard's voice had grown so soft and so slow that you could no longer tell, drifting as you were, quite where his words ended and your own dreaming began. The fire breathed its low red breath in the hearth. The rain kept its gentle watch upon the roof. The warm dark of the old tower wrapped close around you and held you, as it has held so many tired travelers on so many wild nights, safe within good walls, high above the storm, while the weather wore itself out in the empty country far below. If you enjoyed tonight's tales, you can support our little corner by liking, subscribing, or leaving a comment below. It helps these quiet nights find the weary travelers who need them. And if you are still awake, there will be another warm fire waiting for you on the screen when this one burns down. But there is no need to reach for it now. There is nothing left to do tonight, and nowhere left to go, and no road to walk before the morning. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders fall away from your ears. Let your hands lie open and easy in your lap. Breathe in, slow, and let it go. The fire is warm. The walls are strong and old and kind. The wizard nods beside you in the last of the light, his long tail told, and the owl sleeps above you, and the old cat purrs on into the dark. And up at the top of the tower, the dome stands closed against the rain, and the stars turn on unseen above the cloud. And far below, in the warm, deep rock, the old dragon dreams its slow, long dream, and all the mountain is quiet and safe and still. You are warm. You are home. You have nowhere to be but here. Sleep well, my sleepy traveler, and good night.
you.